Okay, hello and welcome everyone. A very good evening to all of you. Welcome to the webinar Integration of Arts in Mainstream. Thank you very much for joining in. Yes, so please put in the chat, I am
Okay.
from. Complete the sentence and put in the chat, I am
Abhinay, it's
from.
working.
Okay, let's see where we have people from. Kanpur, Naipib School, Ghaziabad, Pune, Global School, Pune, Delhi, Kanpur, Nainital, Ghaziabad, Bhimtal, Kolkata, Rudrapur, Bhopal. Very nice. Zirakpur, Punjab, Bangalore, Pune. Okay, a lot of people from Pune. Great. Let's move on to the next one and let's put in the chat Guwahati. Very nice, people. Let's put in the chat right now. I am feeling. Let's start with our feelings. Aesthetic, privileged, great, excited. Okay. Feeling chemistry, very nice. Oh, great. Okay. All right. And now the last question for to start with your professional role is. So, what is your professional role? HM, teacher, facilitator. Okay, very nice. Art teacher. Okay, principal, learner. Great. Move on. Before we begin, let us tell you that we will share the recording with all of you, especially the slides that we show. We will share it with you. Do submit your questions in the Q&A. We will answer that, and please complete the survey in the end. And while we are in this, please enjoy. We have some activities for you. We have some discussions, some breakout room activities as well. So we will make it experiential for everybody. Okay, and let me introduce the speakers for today. Most of us know Vishnu. Vishnu is the founder for Propel Curriculum. The way I have known Vishnu is a learner and also somebody who's very, very curious. And Vishnu is somebody who's always been challenging the situations in a way that to find out what can make learning happen. What is it that can make learning happen? So let's everybody welcome Vishnu here. And along with me, I have Supriti. Supriti is a counselor. She's a head teacher. She's a training consultant, experiential learner. And this is Nikhil Juneja. I am a design thinking strategist and also a life and leadership coach. So today I am your host and I'll be driving some discussions with everybody here. So very excited to be with all of you. Let's move on. Here is the agenda. We will start with an activity, then we'll have a chat with Vishnu, then a breakout room exercise, then chat with Supriti, and then audience interaction. So to start with, everybody, to get us all ready, now quickly press the space bar and say hello, everybody. Press the space bar and say hello.
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 Hello,
Hello.
everyone.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, everyone.
Hello
Good
everyone.
Hello,
evening, everyone.
everyone.
Hello.
Hello. Hello,
Hello.
everyone.
Hello,
Good
everyone.
evening, everyone.
Evening,
Great.
everyone.
Namaskar.
Very nice. Okay, great. Thank you very much, everybody. So your spacebar works. We know that now. Now to start with, what I will do is we have an activity to start with. So I will play a music, okay, and everybody has to listen to that very carefully. Okay. So hope your speakers are on. I will just play the music. And after you listen to this music, I will have some questions for all of you. Okay. Okay. Okay, so everybody heard that music. Now the question for all of you is: when you listen to this music, what does it make you feel? And can you just put it in the chat? The feeling that comes in the chat. Well, yes. So music does create something in us, and since we are going to talk about arts today, and I'll show a slide and I'll show you what NEP says about arts in mainstream. Now, before I start talking to our guest Vishnu and Supriti, here is what NEP says about arts in mainstream, and I'd request you to take a minute and read this slide. Now, arts, interestingly, arts now is not something that's only spoken about the arts teacher, but also about how arts can be used and as an expression in everything that we do. Now, with that note and with that thought, I would welcome Vishnu on the stage. So, Vishnu, can you come on the stage and say hello to everybody?
Hi, everybody. Hi.
Great.
Yeah. Hi, this is Vishnu. Many of you might know me, and well, probably, I guess, majority. But those who don't know, my name is Vishnu Kant. I primarily live in Delhi, and I do a lot of thinking, teaching, training, writing. Yeah. So we have a small team that works on Propel curriculum. Yeah.
Thank
Is
you.
there more?
No, so now I'll ask you some questions, and we started with that music to set the environment because music, when we talk about art, music definitely is there, and we have some more activities that we will include and show some slides and talk about them. But to start with, Vishnu, I just opened up a slide which says what NEP is saying about in the arts in mainstream. But the first question that I have for you is, since NEP 2020 has focused a lot on holistic development of the child, can you elaborate for us and share your thoughts on the role and significance of arts in education?
Yeah, thank you. So before we actually talk about arts and arts education, it's important to set the context, which is what this question is about. And I'm just going to take a couple of minutes. Actually, the main hero of the session today is Supriti, who will be talking about the art education. My job really is just to open the curtain for her, um, and be available for any questions. Yeah, so I think what is when we talk about so NEP, and NEP is talking about it just now, but it's something that educators all over the world have been talking about. What is holistic learning? All right. So, right kind of education or complete education is also what we call, which takes care of holistic development of the child. So that's why it is called holistic education. So let's just understand the word whole, because that has been so there is one WHOL, whole, which is complete. Now this whole HOL, so we got the holistic. In the word holistic education or holism, the root meaning of it actually comes from Greek, which actually means holos, HOLOS. Holos is whole, complete. So this is something that's been there in the last 200 years or so. The people have been talking about, educators, psychologists, all of them have been talking about, the education must be able to educate children completely, holistically, so whole. Now it's important to understand what we mean by whole being. Okay, so the whole being is really what we understand ourselves as a human being. So there is this whole body that I have. So the education must take care of that, the physical development. Then I have a brain here which thinks, uh, concepts, ideas. Okay, so that thinking, that the cognitive aspect that has to be developed. And then there is the emotional aspect of us, which is the feeling, connecting to others. So all emotions, okay, what we call affective domain or emotional. So that emotional development. And the fourth one, which comes in the play, which is the interplay of human beings, okay, and their environment, the what we call social development. So an education which broadly takes care of the four domains of the human being, the take, okay, physical, cognitive, emotional, and social, would broadly be called holistic development. Okay, I mean, there have been people who are talking about and who have spoken about spiritual development, and there would be many things. So right now, today's schools, mainstream schools that we are working with, we don't talk about spiritual development. Okay, and I don't want to go into that right now because that would mean a very different kind of conversation. But so when we talk about holistic development, that is what we are talking about. Now, what are we doing today? We are talking about arts education, but in what sense? So it's very important for us to understand that when we talk about arts education here, we are talking about the what is arts. So Supriti will go more details into that, but as far as I am concerned, that when we talk about different cognitive development, physical development, one thing that connects all of them together is the arts. Okay, the arts. So, and arts are have different levels. There is the visual arts or fine arts that people generally we know, but then there is the performing arts. Okay, the theaters or music, dance. So all of them, we can learn about all of these using our senses, and that is where we are saying that the all artistic abilities or aesthetics that we have inherent in us can be utilized for developing of these four things that we are talking, the holistic, so the cognitive, the subject. So that is what largely Supriti is going to focus on, that what do we understand by arts a little more deeply, and how can we use it, leverage it in, integrate it with the rest of the learning that the school spaces are using. Okay, so that is broadly what I'm saying. So I'm not going to get into giving examples because we have limited time and there is so much more to achieve. Ordinarily, people who have attended my labs, we go into involving people and doing things, but this just to set the kind of stage for more deliberation for arts education. I also want people to know that should there be people at the end of this who are more interested in probing this, there will be opportunity to probably do a separate, more specialized, more larger, much larger kind of lab or webinar. I mean, I don't, this is not really webinar that way. We are interacting. So we could do that. That is possible. Let us just begin where we are right now. Yeah. Have I answered your question, Nikhil? If there is anything left?
Yes, Vishnu, thank you very much. And so thank you, Vishnu. Knowing about holistic education, when we speak about physical, emotional, cognitive, and also social, using all our senses. And I'm so excited to know what interesting things that we are going to get into now. And with that, I request Supriti to join us on the stage. Welcome, Supriti. Please say hello to all the people, and then I have the first question ready for you.
Thank you so much, Nikhil. It's a pleasure being in such an august company, and especially Vishnu's and you. I believe design thinking and also that got me quite interested already. Hello, everyone. I'm Supriti Chauhan, head teacher, Raghav Global School. Many of you already know me, and I can see so many friends in the audience. I did see some names. So I'm very happy to be here. And if you have any questions at the end of our chat, I'll be very happy to address them or take them over.
Thank
Yes.
you very much, Sukriti. So, the first question for all of us I have is, what is the meaning of art education? NEP 2020 has not elaborated upon it yet, and I'm sure it will come in detail when the NCF comes out a little later. But it would be beneficial if you could deliberate on art education as you see as an educator for us.
Okay. If I just put it very, let's say, in a very basic manner, then it is a teaching learning process which kind of create and produces learning materials or using fine arts or performing arts or visual arts, which in turn promotes spatial learning, which again enhances the rest of the intelligences or learning styles. However, having said this, which is, as I said right in the beginning, is a very basic way to put it across, that using music, dance, fine arts, art, craft, painting in enhancing spatial intelligence of a child. Now, one must understand when I say this is what an art education can do. It enhances the your own perception, your own being in the space that you are in relation to everything that's around you. Um, I right in the beginning I saw a slide which you had put up, and I don't remember the exact verbatim, but it's something that I also wanted to say, that if you just go at the infancy stage of a child, when a child is born, and how does a child begin to learn? The child coos, a child mumbles, or whatever the child is uttering, or whatever sounds that we hear are very musical. Uh, Next step is that when the child begins to walk, they are wobbly and they'll walk whichever way they have. And if you ask them to dance, a 2-year-old or 3-year-old, they'll not have any rehearsed step, but they will dance to the rhythm and the music that they hear. And similarly, you give a child a chalk or a pen, or any surface that they want to write on, they will be making such amazing doodles, which probably a 3-year-old will also be able to tell you that I have made this. And those stories are so imaginative and so deep that what happens in the process is that as adults or as educators, if I may uh, have the liberty to say this, we kind of kill it when they come to school. Now, coming back to the fact that children are natural artists. Now, if we are able to hold on to that and use arts, use music, use craft, use fine art, painting, dance, games. I'm not saying sports, but games, to enhance the same innate artistic inborn trait of a child. It not only helps a child develop into the aesthetics and the artistic self-expression, but it also helps child develop life skills, academic skills. Uh, if I have to give you an example, let's say, and I don't think anybody should mind here when I quote certain designations, I would say, but since that has been an experience, and it helps when you kind of share your experience. So instead of taking up, let's begin with the little ones. Instead of taking up painting or art or craft in a very mundane way of asking the child to draw a circle or draw a scenery or something like that, I don't know how many art teachers get into this, that allow the children to look at a live rose or a leaf and ask a child, a 6-year-old child, a first grader, that what shape do you see there? What color do you see there? And it is not necessary that all leaves are going to be a shade of green or a shade of brown. It could be an orange or a red as well. But do we take that as an answer or as a response? Do we allow children to look at natural surroundings around them and ask them to relate it to what they are learning? For example, the colors, the shapes. Do we develop a kind of spatial learning that is required for a child to be able to express himself in an artistic manner? That's something we kind of forget, maybe in the rut of the timetable or the session or whatever. So I'm just giving you an example of what we leave behind and what what actually is very important for any child's developmental stage. Uh, I mean, if I have to summarize my response to this, I would just say art education to me is tools or a bridge to give life skills for any child to succeed not only in academics but in life as well.
Hmm. Great.
You
Thank you very much,
you
Sukriti.
you
Yeah.
you need me to give you more example related to subject. Probably I'll along the way I'll continue doing that.
Sure. Yeah. I think we have more questions, and somewhere wherever you can fit in, it will be helpful. And it's and interestingly, you're talking about multiple intelligences here and how art, and I remember when I was in school and I wanted to paint, nobody cared about it, but how you're talking about how all of this, uh, interacts in being present in the moment and being available to my surroundings.
I had written down few examples of how we very this is like little things that we miss out, and what we miss out is actually art education. So, for example, making a boat, which I'm sure all of us as children we've made it. We make our children, we make our students make it. A little paper boat, or using origami or craft work, or an airplane. So, do we talk about, or does the art teacher or the other teacher who's supporting the art teacher or the mathematics teacher, do they talk about the shapes or the geometrical shapes that's there in uh, while folding the origami? So the transformation that takes place using art, we are somehow missing out in linking that to the actual learning. So that's probably the reason why whenever any subject or any period is lagging of the core subjects, the first subject or the first period that is to be, or that is axed, or that is chopped off from a timetable, is art education. Because one kind of has assumed that this is something which is of no importance or of no use in a learning scenario, so let's do away with it. However, I think uh, bringing in arts education in not only your mathematics, your sciences, where we talk of, I mean, I'll continue giving you examples through it, but what I'm trying to say it again, it's the biggest tool which can actually nurture a child's innate learning abilities, provided one ensures that it is taken seriously in a classroom.
Yeah, right, right. And I remember as an adult, I've taken art therapy sessions and how impactful that is. And and in the chat, I can see some people saying, yes, I do. Tinkle and Aparna is saying, yes, I do use it. Somebody is saying overdevelopment of children will happen and all of that. But okay, let's see. Moving on, Supriti, can you also talk about what is the meaning of art integration in a cross-curricular pedagogical approach that utilizes various aspects of form of art and culture as the basis of learning, of concepts of maybe cross subjects, and how will it
Yeah.
actually look like in the classroom?
uh, I think somebody in the chat has also asked that if you could give examples of how one can use cross-cultural pedagogy approach using art education. I think it's the easiest way to do it. It comes so naturally only if you allow it to, only if you allow your mind to kind of accept it that way, rather than do away as the first easy thing that you can do away with. So let me give you an example. Uh, Project-based learning. uh, People think, okay, give a project and one does a project and you learn something. However, it's such an important tool here when you turn a content or a concept into project based learning with a goal in place. You ought to know why you're doing it, how you're going to do it, and what is the ultimate goal of doing it. We did, I'll give you an example. We did, although I'll come to project based learning because we have this curriculum across our school where we teach it in a manner that it kind of integrates across all subjects. So I will give you an example from there as well. But about a year and a half back, we did a little campaign with it's called the Isha campaign, Rally for Rivers. Now, I'm taking that as an example because I'm sure everybody in the audience must have heard of it. People are saying we are already doing it. Uh, I do agree with the audience when they say they are already doing art education, but are you truly doing it in a sense that it helps the children and evolve as a, when we, as Vishnu said, a holistic personality or a holistic whole being? Anyhow, coming back to Rally for Rivers, so it was a campaign where one had to raise awareness for saving our rivers. It was not something that you could just pick a placard and go out march and do some nukkar nataks and tell the world about what Sadhguru is doing through Isha. Uh, I would give the credit to my team here because once we discussed, we sat down and we planned ways and means, keeping the subjects intact, and every aspect of the campaign was integrated into the subject. So if I talk about the subject with English, an English role play, an English play was designed based on raising campaign, the awareness for the campaign, which meant that none of the English periods were affected. All we did was probably just add to what was already being done, probably do away certain stories or certain chapters, which in turn this would take over. Similarly, gathering data from your surroundings about the number of trees planted was part of their social science project. Again, the the broader goal was to raise awareness for the campaign. So if the art and fine campaign where the children of the school went around the neighboring areas and we sought permission from the officials, and they did graffiti and such large murals on the wall. The idea was not just to go there and paint and again raise the campaign. The idea was to assess the imagine the interpersonal, intrapersonal, all of that happening with the children, to assess the size of the wall by the estimations, the by materials or the paints for it, then design something which anybody passing with, let's say, in less than 30 seconds would be able to know what is the idea behind that campaign and what is happening. So what I'm trying to tell you is that every activity that you do, whether it is related to music, uh, painting, craft, dance, if it does not have a defined objective and a defined goal, apart from how you're going to do it, it is rather meaningless. So, all those who say that we are doing it, my question to them would be, because I did read it in the chat here, that think about it, that as a teacher for arts, or as a teacher for music or dance, or as a teacher for mathematics, science, or other subjects as well, all of you, how many times have you put down a goal whenever you've given a project or whenever you've given any art related activity, which in turn adds value to a child's learning in 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 consonance or in integration with other subjects? Honestly, I'm not expecting any answer here, because it's self reflection. It's something that one needs to do it and assess that yes, on paper and in action we are all doing it. Everybody is doing it. All schools across India are doing it. But how truly are you doing it? That is what is something that you need to answer. Now, coming back to the actual question that you asked, that what is the meaning of art integration across in a cross curricular pedagogical process or approach? To be able to use arts in all its 3 or 4 domains, in English or in social science or in mathematics or sciences, by weaving in the activities that via art education you would do, helps promote that same subject, is what is required. I do know of certain schools who are doing it. We are doing it. mm, I really do not know how many are truly doing it, because somebody just asked me relate to chemistry. They think art cannot be related to chemistry. Your brain and your blood is chemistry. Now, how are you going to put it in art is something that one can sit and design. And since chemistry is for senior secondary, so I'm assuming that you will have fine arts as a subject. There is a project that you can sit and decide and plan with your art teacher while you are teaching chemistry, and it is not only going to support your chemistry, it'll take care of a fine arts teacher's subject progression as well. Nikhil,
Yes,
do you
please.
need, just let me, I think I will switch off this.
Yeah, I think one important thing to keep in mind. Hello, hello.
Yes, Vishnu, we can hear
Yeah,
you.
yes. One important for all of us to keep in mind, and this is one of the distinctions that I discovered for myself when we were looking at this looking at this particular webinar, that the integration of arts, when we talk about, I think it is essentially for, an art teacher told me, a friend told me, that art teachers are anyway all the time using substances or content from other subjects to reflect art, to present art, to learn about it. Okay, it is for the other teachers, okay, the teaching of science, teachers of mathematics, teachers of sciences, teachers of social sciences, to begin to see art in their subject,
Yes,
and thereby begin to integrate arts, not so much arts teaching, but begin to integrate art to, as Supriti also corrected me yesterday, for learning and expression. Okay, about the subject. So it's very important for us to keep in mind that, not to look at art as a separate thing, but using art as a core way of learning and expressing ourselves, understanding, using it to learn different subjects and so on. So later on, different concepts, etc. Later on, when we have time towards the end, we will show you examples. A lot of teachers have shared examples which I am very keen to show, where they have already integrated. It's a lovely thing to do, really, really good. Yeah.
Yeah. And some people in the chat are also putting suggestions on trying marble painting with metallic colors and creating an artwork. So yeah.
Yeah,
uh,
except that I think, as Supriti pointed out, and it's very important to understand that, you see, I've seen that. Okay, it's like an activity you do in the class, more like to break monotony. Okay, so art cannot be and must not be done that way. That you're teaching something,
exactly.
children are bored, so you let me do some art and craft activity. Yeah,
So,
Supriti, you want to
so
say?
just a minute, just a second. Sorry, Supriti. Just adding a little bit over here. I think if we just look at the study of paintings by famous artists, and what kind of painting material was used, and then go into what is the impact of the environment on that painting material that was used. So there, the role of chemistry kicks in, and for children to be able to understand that even the choice of the paints was something that was done so carefully that it would last for so many years.
Absolutely.
So
So
that would probably be something, an area of exploration in chemistry for children.
yeah, somebody was just, I mean, I asked in the chat about certain more examples. I just picked up an example from a person called Palka Kohli, who just mentioned leaf designing to teach leaf Venetian. Now, it's a beautiful, I mean, beautiful example that she has mentioned, and we have done it as well, but not exactly in this way. Now, the leaf Venetian, there was a sculpture class, and the sculpture teacher, instead of teaching the regular sculpture of whatever was planned, actually did pick up different kind of leaves because she wanted to support the bio teacher, and the sculpture that the children made had the impressions of the leaves that they themselves picked up from the garden. This I'm talking about the secondary, I think the ninth graders. So Palka's example reminded me of that uh, it was a sculpture class where children ended up learning leaf venation, which supported the biology teacher. So I think I should reiterate here that while it is good to break the monotony by doing things that bring you joy, however, when you're talking about art education, it has always been there in our culture. It's just that somehow, somewhere, we have completely lost that connect, and we have done away with it, calling it drawing craft and dance music, things like that. However, if you bring it in everything that we are, or who we call we are as human beings, as natives of this country called India, is totally immersed in art education. So whether we talk about gilli danda, we talk about pittu, we talk about all these old age games, which even the CBSE, I remember seeing a CBSE circular, which all of us are supposed to be doing, and I'm sure all of you are also, your schools are also doing, where they matched us with a certain state and a certain indigenous game. Which, why do you think they asked us to do it? What is the purpose behind that, that circular, and why is it that they have told everybody to do it? In fact, if you don't do it, your, I think, 10th LOC won't be something something. There's a connect to it. So there's a reason. It helps kindle, or it helps nurture and promote a child's spatial learning or the intelligence, which in turn enhances the other rest of the eight multiple intelligences. So it is very important that to understand that you, the activity or the artwork or the art education project, for whether it is for music or dance, that you take up, has a goal behind it. If you are doing it only just for yourself, even for that, let's say a dance teacher doing a dance performance where you're training, why not have a ballet on Romeo and Juliet? Why not have an ode to Shakespeare? Things like that, and teach dance based on that rather than work in isolation. So have a purpose, have a goal, and look for that objective. uh, Coming back to the question, when I gave you an example of integrating it with English or sciences, that is what is cross curricular pedagogy using art education is all about.
Hmm. Great. Thank you, Supriti. And, and also just adding on when Vishnu also added, one is doing that, and the other is when once it's done, and what was the purpose and how we make sense of it together is what makes all the difference. And moving on, also the purpose of art education as stated in NEP seems to be twofold. For one is for creating joyful classrooms, and the other for imbibing Indian ethos through integration of Indian arts and culture in teaching and learning processes at every level. How do you see that happening at the planning level?
I think answer to this is very simple. As many of our audiences have already, I mean, in some way said that we are already doing it, and I also say the same thing, that we, most of the Indian schools or schools in India, are already doing it. It's just that what I feel, and it's my personal opinion here. What I feel is, yes, they are doing it. Some of them are doing it beautifully. However, they have not really strung it into a in a manner where it makes sense to the person or the facilitator who's getting it done, and to the learners to make sense out of it. Why is it that they are doing? For example, the activities that I'm talking about is, all of us, all schools that I know of, do various assemblies on important festivals, important dates, important events, even current events. All of us do it. uh, all of us do music contests, dance contests, as house system in the school. All of us have fine arts or the arts or a sculpture or a games period or a PT period. However, all these periods or all these activities, as I said earlier, are not strung in a very cohesive manner, which begins to make sense. Why is it that we are truly doing it? And how is it linking to our subjects?
Yeah.
So that's something lacking. Now, all one has to do is, next time when you sit down to plan your annual planner, or the activities that you're doing it, all you have to do is begin or have a conversation with the subject teachers, or all of them, and begin putting it in a manner where every activity, every assembly, every contest in the school has a goal and a purpose. You, if you do it without it, then it is just a run of the mill, or something that you've been doing it and churning it year after year after year. I don't think that will make a difference. You will, every time you attend such webinars or you attend such workshops, you'll feel, oh, we are doing it. But is it making any difference to your children? It's like pouring water on a tumbler which is kept upside down. So you are doing it, you are pouring in a lot, a lot. However, the tumbler is kept upside down. So the idea is to connect, to make the connect to make the correct connections, to string it in a manner to what you are already doing. Because once you do it, all your Indian ethos or your cultures and all that you're trying to do will actually begin to make sense to the children. Why is it that if we are doing all these things, we are doing national integration, we are doing national days and everything, and yet it was such a pain for the same Indian young people, I may say, that they wouldn't want to stand up for a national anthem, or they wouldn't want to do a certain something because it didn't make any sense to them. Uh, because when you do things without a purpose, without giving meaning to it, children don't make sense of it. They also do it like a mundane activity, robotically, mechanically. So my uh, one tip for this, or one way of doing how, when you asked how do you see it happening in planning level, is create your annual planner month wise, week wise, day wise. Put every activity, whether it is a project, whether it is an event or a task or a competition, house wise, school wise, in very short ways. I'm not asking anybody to make elaborate plans out of it. Why are you doing it? What is the goal? Can you integrate subjects with it? Trust me, you can integrate as many subjects as possible. So that way, when other teachers harp that okay, children run away for practice for this and this, and my period doesn't happen, why not have that particular Hindi period or science period uh, content going into that preparation that you are doing? So to have an annual progression based on art education in a cross curricular manner is exactly what you have to do. Because as I said, we all are doing it. It's just that it's not being done in the uh, more cohesive manner.
Yeah, right. And I
Okay,
think,
Supriti, what I'm hearing from you very clearly. Sorry, people, if you can't see me, I think there is some fluctuation in the data, but you can hear me, I'm sure. You can hear me, right?
Yes, we can
yes.
hear you,
Yeah,
Vishnu.
yeah. So what you're saying is that although we are doing a lot of art and craft in our classes, teachers, probably a lot of teachers, most teachers generally, intuitively bring in art and craft in their work. But what is not there is an a deliberate or an effortful approach to it, a deliberate approach, a thoughtful approach in terms of this is my objective, these are the things that I'm doing through arts, this is what I'm achieving, this is how I'm integrating. So almost like being able to articulate it and defend it. Is that what
Exactly,
you're
exactly.
saying?
Absolutely, you nailed it, Vishnu. This is exactly what I'm trying to say. That one is doing it all, yet it's going nowhere. So probably two reasons. One, we haven't given it enough importance. Two, we do not know how exactly to do it in a much more defined, or let's say cohesive manner.
Yeah.
I'll give you another example because I
Yeah,
do see
maybe
a
an
lot.
example will help.
I'll
Yeah.
tell you what failed at my school and how we picked it up again. So, about 3 years ago, we decided to adopt the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals, because it was a very interesting thing, and it was the thing to do because as children of the future, it was important for us adults to train them. Uh, Things like that. So we adopted these and we thought we'll pull it. So made posters and placed it all over the school, and we started promoting it. Trust me, and I do not mind sharing here that we failed miserably because it was just a poster which had uh, definition of 17 goals. However, there was nothing visible that was being adopted or learned while promoting or while learning these SDGs. So even this is despite that every SDG goal was incorporated into subjects in some way or the other, in terms of activities, in terms of tasks, in terms of performances. And it took us a year and a half to understand okay, that it's all a waste, nothing is happening. What we did was that instead of just kind of doing it without, as I said, we did it initially by adopting without giving any goal or a purpose to the activity and without the actual house of the activity. Trust me, the moment we found out, the entire team sat down across grade 1 to grade 10, and we were at grade 10 only that time. Every activity in collaboration with teachers, in a vertical progression was worked out that it was a progression for a child of grade 1 upwards 2, 3, 4, and every child of each successive grade was helping out the other child while doing those activities. The activities were designed by teachers and children themselves. And when I say how I know that we started to make a difference was, one, our school has been winning the best garden for the past 4 years in a row. This happened because children stopped plucking plants. Children brought in more plants and looked after them. Children ensured that they survived. And we have plants all over the school. Uh, we have too many plants, rather. So that I owe it to the fact that the actual learning began to happen when they started practicing it, the experience part of it. So this was one measure, or this was one evidence of we knowing that, okay, now SDGs are truly in place, or the sustainable goals that we talked about. We have campaigns of plugging, of picking up the polythenes and not using the polythenes, and uh, yet we have projects where the same art teacher or any of the art teacher will end up using some bit of it, if not more or completely, a thermocol. So where is that? I'm very proud to say in the past 4 years, we have not used a speck of polythene or thermocol in school. It's been 4 years. So these are the, and this is something which has happened in children's home as well. You wouldn't find them carrying their books or tiffins or things like that in polythenes. It what we could This year was the year when we had planned that the tiffin boxes and the water bottles would go steel, either steel or what they already have, so no more new buying. So we had already primed our children to a level where the ones who had to change their tiffins because it had become old or broken were going in for a steel tiffin, or they were going in to use whatever they already have. So all these little things happen when you truly want to work on it. It's the mindset. It's not just because you have a job and you come and do it and you go because it's a eight period timetable and do it. Whether it is art education or whatever education, it's not going to happen. It will happen when you come with a purpose. It will happen when you know the set of rules to achieve that purpose. It will happen when you have a defined goal to look forward to and to make your children look forward to. So in a very simple way, I'll just say that whenever you're planning something, be very clear on why you are doing it. Are you doing it to achieve a purpose, or are you doing it to waste time? Be very clear about it. Ask that question 100 times. Ask, or throw it open to your colleague, somebody else, and ask, is there a purpose in it? Probably they'll guide you, because it helps when 10 people sit down and do the same planning.
Right. Thank you, Smriti. I think as straightforward as it is, and I think a lot of people initially, when they were saying that, I'm doing it. Yes, we agree that everybody is doing it, but how, when I'm hearing it, what's coming to my mind is at the annual planning level, when everybody sits together and every teacher in the school decides that, these are the things that we will do, and in cross curriculum, how we can utilize it everywhere. That's when the exact planning happens.
And I'll again give a very chota sa example from my own experience. I am a strong proponent, or rather, I back up the junior most team the most, the nursery, elementary, and the primary, and I back up the art education team the most, because I know they are the most neglected pillars of the school. Whereas I feel this should be the strongest. The nursery, the kindergarten team, and the art education team is the actual pillar. If we truly tap them and you actually work on them, they are the ones who will make the strongest foundation for any child, for any school.
Yeah. Great. And also when you're talking, I'm thinking about when Vishnu keeps talking about visible learning, and the results that you just spoke about on how when you enter the school and you see these plants and how it's happening in at homes, and so that's what visible learning is, when learning happens and we can see it. Great, thank you. I think great. This is great. Moving on, can you also talk about a little bit about what knowledge and skills would it require for teachers to be able to integrate art education in the teaching of various subjects for joyful experiences, and also make the experience such that children imbibe Indian ethos, especially into it?
Okay. Can I give a very informal and a very shortcut answer to this?
Certainly.
because it wouldn't matter if I gave long elaborations or
Yeah.
examples. You just have to have a mindset that yes, it can happen, yes, I can do it. uh, I remember, or rather I do it with anybody who I'm taking any workshop with. The first thing I say to them is, when I ask you to do a task or perform a task, or when I ask you for something, I don't want to hear a no. I don't want naysayers in my team. I want people to say yes. So we then start out our workshop, and during the course of workshop, I'll throw open, let's say, demands like a jinn who wants something, and I'll give the most weirdest of the demands. And trust me, I have demanded a piece of a moon, and I've gotten one. So you have to have a mindset. Number one, first and foremost, that's the biggest thing. Whether it is knowledge or skill, you have to have a mindset to say yes, it is doable and I can do it. It doesn't matter if I cannot draw a straight line or a nice circle. Even your crooked line or your teda meda circle will make a world of a difference to a child that you're teaching. If that child sees that attitude in you, that for that child you are willing to take that step and teach something that you yourself are not comfortable, they know it. So knowledge definitely helps. So that is why we have our art specialist teachers, we have our music teachers, we have our dance teachers. They're there as specialists to help you, but they are not your subject specialist. However, every subject specialist, whether it is a woman or a man, trust me, if I talk about a woman, I know that all women are capable of beautifying their space. No offense to men folk here, gentlemen. I'm just taking an example onto myself. That's why I quoted women here. I do know of some exceptional men who would make aesthetics look wow. So that kind of makes up for it. So if all women are, we I say that because that's how our society or our community is at the moment. That is why I'm saying it, because majority of the teachers here are females. So I don't think if I say this, they should feel, the women should not agree to it. That if you can look after your home and you can multitask so well, and you can look so pretty in the morning and come to school that your children love you every single day, you keep your house beautiful, you keep your surroundings very pretty, you are nurturing by nature. God has designed you like that. So are men folk, protective. Somebody who, if there's something, can protect and sustain it. You have that strength in you. Then why is it that the same aesthetic and artistic, uh, innate artist in you cannot take over your subject and teach the same in that artistic manner? That's a question that I'd like to pose to anybody. So those who say that I don't know art, I don't know music, I don't know, so everybody is a bathroom singer.
Mhm.
Even people with two left feet can dance. So that, so we may say that they have two left feet, but they still can dance. Nobody is asking you to prepare children for a competition. However, if you are able to give that to your children, so even if you're singing Besura, a song that you're singing with them, the fact that is going to stand out is that you are with them. They are not going to look at how terrible a singer you are. So that's what I tell my teachers too when they say, how do we prepare, we don't have a music teacher. Now nobody says it. They are all of them. And I'm very proud to say, although it's just 50% to what the initial team was. This year we had a lot of new people join us since the school grew. I am very proud to say that most of my teachers can dance, sing, and paint because they know I can do that. And as a principal, I have done it all with my nursery graders to my 12th graders with all my team, because I feel this is one aspect of my personality, which has made me who I am today. And okay, here I'd like to add something. It has made me who I am today because I'm also a mother to a special needs child, and these are the things. The art education is the main education which has helped her do exceptionally well in life. And if I may say, as a proud mother, she's doing better than most other children who has all faculties with them and the best of the um, resources, best of everything with them, and yet my child with two senses completely not being there. She's a hearing impaired and a deaf and a mute child, and yet she's doing exceptionally well. I owe it to art education, because everything that I taught was through art education, through drawing, through painting, through music, through gestures, what you call as a dance form. So it probably I can feel, and I promote it so well because I have lived that life and I'm still living it. So if a child with two of the senses missing can do it, imagine what a child with all five senses can do. And how, as teachers, as educators, we kind of forget, and what we do is we tell them to shut down your five senses and do what we are asking you to do, because we have to complete a certain course in a certain way. So this is what I would say. There are really no rules to skills that one must have. You should be communicative, you should be expressive, you should be a team player, you should have your ego in the bin when you come to school, because you have to work with your team, your art team, your other art educators. If you have these basic skills, trust me, you can be a best teacher in the world.
Great. That's inspirational. I can see a lot of people sharing in the chat as well. So definitely, I can see it takes some intention, it takes some research, and it takes a lot of collaboration with everybody to make it happen in the school. Uh,
Absolutely.
yeah, great. Thank you, Supriti. Moving on, can you also, since we've spoken about how all of this can be done and what it takes to do it, how would you manage or maybe measure the efficiency of art integration in class or curriculum, and also its impact on children's learning?
Uh, See, there are very, as I said, if you design, I have designed something because I knew you would be asking me this question. So I did design an example and brought it from school. However, it's very simply put, I'll go back to the basics. When you are saying that there is art integration happening along with the subject, along with the, let's say, I'll give an example of, because this is something that we did very recently, I think just about 15-20 days ago. So we were matched with, as a UP state school, we were matched with Manipur. Oh, yeah, Manipur. So our children were supposed to do certain bit of activities. So we were very clear. We did, although our planner was already ready for this year, but then we rehashed the planner and we worked it out. So there was a dance initially of some other state. However, the first project that the English teacher gave in the class was, no, we started with the social sciences. The social science teacher in the class gave a project to sixth graders. There was a chapter in which they had a reference of northeastern states, where children were put into groups and they were asked to study about the state, especially about art and culture. She directed them. So children did their own research. Of course, it is online. The English teacher, who as a routine has a creative writing period or a time, instead of taking up a creative writing theme which she had initially thought of, changed it to match it to the social science teachers research on northeastern states, and in particular the Manipur. So children wrote about Manipur, the art and culture of Manipur. And that's when the dance teacher stepped in, and uh, you would be so surprised that the inputs that the children gave to the dance teacher to to learn a word, I mean, they did it all virtually, of course, online. They learned a Manipuri dance with inputs from children. So every child had picked up one odd subject, which the dance teacher just put it together, and they had a beautiful dance. So when we did that, we designed, English teacher, of course, designed it on linguistic rubrics, social science teachers did it on hers. I'm specifically talking about right now a mixed rubric format that we created. So I have it in front of me, but it's very rough, but I'll just quickly just say it, because since the question that is how do you measure? So have a rubric for everything that you do. Again, coming back to why or how, and then why do we need to, what to do, how to do, and why do we need to do it. uh, you divide your children into 3 or 4 categories: the emerging ones, the approaching ones, somebody who's a little higher than approaching, the intermediate, or somebody who meets the expectations, and exceptional, or the excellent ones who go beyond the standards that are required for doing so. These are your parameters, and then comes the learning domains, which, in terms of, let's say, if we are talking about English, social science, and dance here, so information of collecting data in diversity of, for the state Manipur. So which children it's very simple. If you really give them task and you assess their task, all you have to do is put those children in those categories. Each of those categories are divided again into grades, A, B, C. A stands for the highest and B for similarly C for the least. So first could be information collection, second could be research on the cultural background specific to Manipuri dance, then distinction or establishing the connections between Manipuri dance and other dance forms. How many children could do it? And then self research or self motivation and picking up the dance steps. So I'm just sharing a rubric that we created for this particular example that I gave you. So coming back to your question, which says, how do you measure the efficiency? First, have your rubrics right. When you have your rubrics right, you assess them right, and then it is easy for you to know how many fall into just starting out phase, or how many are doing exceptionally well, or at least are meeting. The least one that one can focus on is that these many majority of the number should at least meet. Then you start working on the children who are struggling or who hasn't met expectations. It could be because of any struggle, it could be lack of attention or interest. Then you have to figure out why and how. Having said that, it is only once you've done, or you won't get results overnight for a subject or for art education, but you do get it by mid-year. You do, when you're continuously assessing them, you do get it by mid-year, and by end of the year you do know who are your children uh, who are doing very well independently, or who are the ones who still need your support. So I really can't sit down and give you exact way of going about it. However, what I can tell you is that if your planner is right and you've had your purpose right, the next step that would come is have your rubric right to map the learning that is happening. Now, and
Okay,
not
so
all learning is going to be in writing or in oral. Most of it in art education would be expressive in terms of visual or auditory. Yes,
so
Vishnu.
so so Supriti, you are saying in a way, what I'm hearing is that if by rubrics you mean that we have a clearer understanding of what the outcome is going to be, so that that can be seen or measured and talked about, right?
Yes, yes,
So the bringing in the accountability angle, okay, would bring certain rigor to the process of integration of arts,
yes,
which generally is missing because you when you teach subjects, when you teach, let's say, sciences, you when you get get to checking it or assessing it, then you only checking the science knowledge. You're not checking how well the child has actually used art to either construct knowledge or to express, to use it, or to apply it. That is what I'm hearing you say. Is that
yeah,
correct?
yes, that's correct, Vishnu.
So as teachers, just one more minute. So as teachers, when we are planning activities, when we are planning different kinds of objectives, at that time we should also somewhere enlist, write it down, or put it in the assessment plan, that what would I look for or I expect
Exactly,
from children.
exactly. Because I just shared it, probably it sounded a little abstract because I'm unable to show you on screen. It's quite patchy. Otherwise, I would have shown you the exact rubric for just this dance integration with English and social science. Vishnu, the funny thing is that all of it is happening here in every teacher's head. Every teacher who's been in touch with the child even for a month knows where the child stands for which skill and for which attribute, and she uses that child without knowing that she's actually enhancing that. But this doesn't happen in a structured manner. This doesn't happen because it should happen every single time. This happens because there's a competition danda on your head, and you want your certain set of children doing exceptionally well in debate, certain set of children doing exceptionally good in art or dance or music. So the teachers would actually go out in class and pick these up, and it happens, they know it. who all are. So it's just that on paper there is no structuring, and what happens in the process is that you end up calling up only those children who already have this innate ability, and you have, as teacher, you have definitely worked on it, but you leave behind majority of those who are struggling, and you've done nothing about it because you really do not have any information or data in front of you, with by which you can say, okay, these are my children who are exceptional, and rest of them, I don't know, because I don't have a data which tells me, okay, this one is approaching, this one is meeting, or this one is intermediate. So that is why I'm saying it is very important for every teacher to have that assessment data, that the rubrics first of all, and then the data while you are assessing those children in those activities.
Okay, I think Shalini is saying if you could share rubrics later, please. All right, that's definitely possible,
I will.
Shalini.
It's in such a
Yeah,
terrible
yeah.
shape. You will not even be able to see it because I quickly jotted it down and brought it. I will definitely share it,
So
Shalini. This will
Shalini,
be, yeah.
will you just type in your email ID and with a just thing so that we would remember. Anybody else also is free to write down. This chat will remain with us, and we will look at it. And if you need anything, we will definitely get back to you. That's our promise. Yeah.
Thank you. And Vishnu, when you're talking, and when I was
And there were Nikhil. I think there were a couple of people who had raised their hands. Are you able to locate them? See what they want.
yeah, I think, but they've put it down also. I think that was by mistake.
So I think there is time. Nikhil has dedicated time for chat,
Yeah,
for
so we'll do
questions.
that
Yeah.
later. Yes, yes. And so Vishnu and Agnes, maybe this is a question for you. Since we're talking about understanding and measuring. I know that in Propel curriculum you find out.
Kalpana has raised her hand. Hmm.
Vishnu, Vishnu, are you able to hear me?
Yeah, yeah, I can. I can hear you.
So I'll come back to questions. Kalpana, I will come back. So Vishnu, if you or Agnes, maybe you can tell us how you measure the impact of learning. And you, in brief, you can just tell me how does Propel curriculum do that?
Well, so most of this is something that uh, that goes into. I mean, the people who have used curriculum or Propel curriculum have. I mean, know it that and when Supriti mentioned project-based learning (PBL), um, even others, the subject curriculums have very deeply, extensively used arts, and a lot of it, in terms of definitely visual arts, and uh, also in role plays, etc., the theater part, not so much of music, and also not physical so much, but a lot of interactions at physical level. And so we have used that. Of course there would always be more, there is more space to look at it, and now that we have been mandated by a national policy, I think we will look at doing and more, um, uh, more visibly, and going more uh, overtly than covertly, because earlier we were doing it because we thought we were making it useful and making it more interesting and addressing different intelligences of children. But now that we have a national policy which is mandating the integration of arts, it gives us a lot more of kind of confidence to do that. Yeah. So
I,
while when there is learning happening, there is a lot of language arts and the arts being used, a lot of it. Okay, in their
I,
learning.
So,
I could show some example. Yes. Huh, you want to say something?
yeah, so in the Propel curriculum, if we look at it, there are some spaces where we have used art in for two reasons. One is where we've used art to construct learning, to construct knowledge, and the other is where we've used art to express children's knowledge. So, some things, so for example, our social sciences and our sciences books have these content where there's something called talking pictures. So
uh,
the picture is giving an input of it's a view. So there's one picture which has one child standing who's carrying a bucket in his hand, an empty bucket, and he's looking at a pool in front of him where children are enjoying in the water, and he's wondering, when will I get some water for myself? Just a minute, Supriti, 1 minute.
Okay, I'll wait.
So so that is one space where we sort of brought out the issue of inequalities very easily, from what was presented as in an art form, something presented visually. Another is where we are building understanding of spaces in children. So we give them exposure of understanding spaces, so children are learning mapping, and when they are learning mapping, they come out and finally create maps which could eventually, in conjunction with working with different architects from the actual field, they would turn out to be pretty close to real maps, and something that really, inspires the confidence in them to be connected with the real world, and at the same time build a very good understanding of directions, of spaces, of how to use spaces efficiently. So so who would have thought that, just understanding of spaces is also, when we are talking about, is connected directly to art, to understanding and integrating of art.
True.
Hmm. Great.
True.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Agnes and Vishnu. Yes.
So
Yeah, I think Supriti wanted.
yeah,
Yeah.
I just wanted to reiterate what Vishnu and Agnes just mentioned. Uh, Propel curriculum, the PBL that we do. I mean, if I could just request Nikhil if he has those slides with him,
Yes.
because as I said, we map the evidences of learning based on the domains like exploration, expression, exposure, hands-on activities, experiential learning, techniques, assessing those techniques, sifting, scanning, selecting the best idea, then putting it into action and building something concrete or tangible out of it. So by the time Nikhil pulls out those, they're just
Yes,
two
sir.
collages that I'd shared with them, that if you can just show. Uh, um, as simple as one may think of PBL, and I'm talking right now only about what we have at school, the books. Trust me, it may appear simple, but the depth of information and the connections that the child makes, it appears simple to us as educators, as adults, and you say, oh, ye to bahut aasan hai, to hum kar sakte the, why do we need a book? But then we needed a book because it puts a structure to the whole thing, and it tells us what to do, and it opens up the world of ideas for us to think more beyond that book or any other book for that matter. So here Nikhil just pulled up, I think there are four pictures that our children are shown doing. Here, whatever was the leftover from their tiffin, they would just put it in a compost bin. First of all, no wastage is as it is allowed, but there are times when food falls down, or maybe there's something left and you want to, or they brought a banana or an orange and there are peels. So all that composting. So we have a compost pit exclusively for children across all grades. They go and do their own composting, and within 3 weeks they have a compost ready to use. So the process of turning organic waste into something valuable, not only in terms of learning, in terms of financial, let's say, stake also, so because they've sold their packets of uh, the compost. So that also takes place. So these all pictures show that that they are doing. There is a little construction of the house that they're doing. This is converting rainwater harvesting. This is a project that our boys did. These are seventh graders. How they did, although we actually have a rainwater harvest system in our school, but we wanted them to create their own. This they planned and did as a group on their own, all with support from the teachers as facilitators, taking guide from the project based learning that we have at school. uh, okay, this one is my favorite. I did tell you about that sculpture class. We did two phenomenal things. One, that biology teacher example that I gave. Another thing that we did last Diwali was, this girl in the center who's holding Ganesha also has seeds in her hand. So they made those Ganeshas with seed. They also made candles of clay with seeds in it. And I mean, when we talked about SDGs, that also came into play, because none of our children burst crackers. I'm talking last Diwali and before that. I really do not know what we did this year, but I'm assuming nobody burst. So they put those seeds in those clay, and that was given as a takeaway to the little ones, the kindergartners. So it was made by the middle schoolers and handed over as a Diwali gift to the
As the
kindergartners. Yeah.
cutest Ganesha I've ever
Uh,
seen.
and
That
then
little fellow.
the Ganesh immersion happened in the pot, and the Diwali candles, the pretentious Diwali candles, which were made out of clay, were also put in the pot. And we had tulsi growing, we had moong growing, we had rajma growing out of it. And imagine the joy for a child to see that plant growing and bring it back after the Dashara break or the Diwali break, because they sprout very soon, all these seeds that we chose to put into that clay. So that happened. We told the middle schoolers that the children, the nursery graders, will not be using brush because it's too the cylinder or that stick is too fine or thin for them to hold and paint. Can you do something that the little ones can paint with? So if you look at your extreme right bottom, you have those brushes made out of flowers and foliage and leaves, which of course the teachers definitely gave them a hint, but it was completely directed, designed and made by the middle schoolers for the kindergartners gardeners, so that they can hold and enjoy painting to their heart's content. So all that came into play because of exploration, because of expression, because of high order thinking skills, which leads them to, yeah, I guess I lost my rhythm there. So I
Okay.
just wanted to kind of show this to you all, that it is possible and it can happen and it can be mapped, provided you know the right way of going, why you choose to do a certain activity, how you do it, how you achieve your goal, and how do you map it.
Great. Thank you. In the interest of time, there is so much more that I want to hear about these activities, but we will move on to one question from you and then one from Vishnu. So, as a school leader, what would you say as your preparedness to make learning so holistic with integration of art in the curriculum? Finally.
Okay, Nikhil, that's, I think I'm so happy NEP did that, and I'm so happy that they're going to enforce it in a while to come with all the details, that how important it is for art education to be integrated across all subjects and across the school, because I'm one very passionate promoter for art education. So I as I said, it's the mindset. When you are ready to adapt and accept and learn something, you don't need anything to push you to do it. If you're open in your mind to accept that yes, this is important and this is more important, just like time is important more than any material thing, art education is. I if I have to put it in the same pedestal, if I have to equate it with anything, I'll equate time with art education. So my preparedness is, I'm very excited. We are already doing a lot of things. We The entire school is, as it is, following the cross curricular pedagogy with art education in a very big way. I have 5 in charges and 2 coordinators, and 7 of them, there was a time when they would say, "Oh, ma'am ke dimag mein kya idea hai, that she's gonna put it on us, throw us," and then ask them to, and they would come out with wonderful execution ideas. But now they are the ones who throw things at me, and I was like, "Okay, wow, wait, let me see how I can fit your ideas into the middle school planner or the senior school planner." So it all boils down to planning aspect of it. Provided you have the mindset, provided you have the willingness to accept and incorporate into your annual progression. As simple as that.
Thank you very much. That was insightful. Quickly now, before I move on to asking the last question to Vishnu, we have a small activity where I will share a picture with everybody on the screen, and then I will ask you a question. So when you see this picture, maybe tell us what comes up for you when you see this. So what's written is, Dad is trying to get food for us.
Paradox.
Yeah, below the sea level and also above the sea
Above the
level.
sea level.
Yeah. So yeah, please put in the chat what this story, what emotion does it bring up for you, and and dilemma. Yeah. And if when you see this, is there something that you can connect this with in your life? When in the past or maybe currently, what can you see in your own life? How can you connect this with your own life? Somewhere I can think of something, but yeah, I'll give some time for everybody to think about what this brings up for you and how can you relate it with your life. Two sides of the coin, two faces. Trust on parents, sacrifice, survival of the fittest. Yeah, yeah, great. Yeah, and great. So and another example of pictures speak a thousand words, and how this beautiful art can evoke emotions and make us think so much. I felt very emotional when I saw that, and it brought up so many times. For me, the word that came up was empathy on what I can't sometimes see the other side of this story, and when I'm only thinking about myself. So yeah, empathy is what came up for me when I saw this. So yeah, concerns, empathy, ironical, great. Thank you very much for your responses, everybody. Vishnu, and last question for today, I have for you. So if you can say hello once again to everybody. And here it is. So Vishnu, can you share some example from Propel curriculum on how it brings all of this in the classroom for us?
Okay, well, I'm, so I am just reflecting the picture, which is somebody said dilemma. Okay, so Priti shared some examples of the Propel curriculum, and I have lots of them, but I have this dilemma, and I want people to put it in the chat box. It's just reflecting the image that you saw. I had put a message on the group, and a lot of teachers. The message was to invite people. But, good teachers are everywhere. They are not waiting for this webinar. They are there everywhere, thriving with children, getting the children thrive in their presence. So they're already doing everything that is being said. Somebody or the other good teachers are trying to do everywhere. So they have very kindly sent me some of those things that they are doing. So my dilemma is that I have this limited time, 5 minutes to 7 minutes. Anyway, we are overshooting the time. So to share the Propel curriculum, which is exhaustive, which has loads and loads of these, using arts to teach subjects, integration of art. My personal preference is that I want to show what the teachers have sent to me. Okay. So I'm just wondering if it is okay with people, then I would want to share the teachers' work.
So I think quickly we can take
Yeah.
about
See, as it is, I think the Propel lives in the hearts of teachers, plain and simple. I don't have much to say. Okay, we exist for teachers. We want to do work for teachers. We can always share, but some things that they have shared, I really want to. I want to. So, if anybody has a contrary view, please speak quickly. Otherwise, I'm just going to share the teachers. Um,
everybody
Okay,
wants.
so may I just make a comment here? It's a lovely session, and we all have sat here. Just one thing I would like to say, much as the great art supporter myself being, in spite of 14 years of formal education, our students, if they are asked, they're not able to name five artists or five singers or five dancers or
yeah,
five
yeah.
jurors. Why such a big gap remains in spite of the having the best art teachers, the best dancers, dance teachers, and so on and so forth. So where simply it's not simply that we are using art as our crutches, where we have to make our subjects stand or walk. It is basically
Yeah.
also understanding and deepening the thought and the regard and the pride for the arts and knowing the great stalwarts of every field. So let us say a student just feels passionate about painting. At least he should know about the five great painters of the world, if not their own country. So that is where national integration or pride for the country is concerned. They need to know 14 years of formal education and they're not able to name five great artists in any field. That is where I think we need to focus upon, which I'm doing. But I'm sure this is a very enlightened gathering, so we could ponder on that also.
Absolutely, I agree with you, Sunita ji. You very rightly said, and I also mentioned right in the beginning that all of us are doing, but are we doing the right way? That's something that we need to string it in the right manner, correct manner, that it actually has a purpose of 14 years of purposeful learning. That
Very
has to happen.
yeah.
I
Okay,
think
so
just 1 second adding
we
to
will
what
take.
Sunita ji just said. I think when we talk about project based learning, we one very important element over there is connecting with the real world and adult experience in the real world. So whatever you're learning, be it some form of art at that point of time, some form of architecture, getting connected with people who are actually working in that field, who have been the stalwarts in that field. And very rightly said, it's important that children get to see, get to know, and actually experience the good work that has happened over there. Thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah, I think we should take more from the audience, but let me quickly share some of the things that have teachers have shared. Otherwise, the whole exercise of getting them to send would be lost. So everybody, please listen. I have the whole lot of it that you have sent, a lot of them. Some of them have sent multiple evidences of work. I have taken one, and I'm just going to take about a dozen and show. That doesn't mean that others who have sent are less valuable. It's just that for the lack of the time, we have this. I'm just going to share the screen here. Okay, can you see, Nikhil?
It's
Yeah.
coming.
Yeah, you can see that. Okay, so this is sent by Gauri, who has used these different shapes and uh, to teach. Actually, the comments are written. You can look at them yourself. Um, yeah. Then this is by Meenakshi Gurgaon, who has used this poster making. This is an activity a lot of teachers love doing it, using paper cutting to teach geometrical shapes. Very important, and lot of doing and a good appreciation of visuals, colors. I love the colors that is being used. This is an interesting one used by used turmeric indicators, and so the primary children have done this. Okay, Mohit has sent quite a few of his very elaborate work of art which his students seems to have done. Very, very mature kind of thing. I'm very impressed, Mohit. Thank you.
It's Mohita.
Um, yeah, Mohita. I'm so sorry. Okay, all right. Um, this is a cute one. All children use abacus, but when they begin to do it, don't miss the border that the children have made. We keep talking about the arts and things and the purpose, learning, etc. But look at the inherent, almost instinctive aesthetics that most children or even, I mean, adults have. We make anything, we want to create a border. We want it to look, you know defined and so on, which actually goes way beyond any purpose. um, uh, this one is the history project. Okay. That's been done. This is Monica Sharma. So that was Mohita Sharma. This is Monica Sharma.
Monisha.
Monisha Sharma, not Monica, sir.
Monisa. Oh, I'm so sorry. Confused. Yeah. I love this one. It is so cute, but look at the proportion, and look at the the use of simple material, but very in terms of when we talk about form, we think this is a really really very observant child who's done it. And this is my favorite. You make a caterpillar that eats caterpillar, make the caterpillar out of leaves that eats leaves. Okay. Very interesting way of. So, and it also says the leaves eaters. Okay. So very cute, Sushmita. That
Thank
was
you,
a,
sir. Thank you so
yeah,
much.
it was really interesting. And look at the aesthetics of it. I mean, look at the choice of the color and the way that the child has tied it down. And don't miss the I think it's a some tooth like structure. I don't know what it is, probably tooth that the caterpillar uses to chew up things, so you can see that. Yeah. um, Mamta has sent this. This is of course something that is quite familiar, children love it. um, this is another I found very, very catchy. Very, very. I mean, look at the bright color. Just two, well, three colors that the child has used, but the power of this, the red and black and very, very, very impressive. Of course, it's very interesting. So one-sided. Rarely children do only two wheels. They generally make four wheels. But this is interesting. Yeah.
I think
So
fascinating how they've put the footprint and used it to create that.
yeah. So lovely choice of colors. Uh, so there is a whole lot of things that are there as in the curriculum, that Propel curriculum that we have, and which we would love to show. Uh, I mean, but I'm hesitant because we've run out of time. But I just want you to just look at this particular one, which is my favorite. This is something which is also very unique, that we have used these to get children to think. So this is art being used to think. Um, if you look at this, okay, to begin the beginning questions, and a lot of it is spoken by the by the pictures and the colors, the simplicity of it that I but this is used for brainstorming, but visually very, very simple and very evocative that we have used. So like this, there would be, many, many. So this is like teaching of sciences, but we use very, very simple visuals to get children to just brainstorm. Okay, but I'm not getting into this more because I think it would be very unfair to people. uh, we should take some questions. Yeah, Nikhil, over to you.
Thank you very much. I think this was heart touching and very exciting to see all of this. And the entire session that it was today. If I have to summarize it as per my understanding, and how I understand now to express everything through art. So using art as an expression. What I've learned is children are naturally natural artists, and we as adults should not spoil them. And for
Absolutely.
that, with all the intentions that we have to include arts, we need to know our objectives and purpose of why we are doing what we are doing. And debrief is more important even than the activity. So we need to really spend time. We need to have the right questions which can make children think. Um, and finally, to make it happen at the school level, we have to collaborate with everybody in all the cultures and find out how we can use art as an expression for everything that we are doing. And it's wonderful to see the evidence of what you both of you have shown today on how Propel is using all of this, and we can see that learning visible here. I also have so I'll also share the contact information if anybody wants to know more, because some teachers had, somebody was asking, I need more examples on chemistry, so you can reach out to us and we can explore and all of that. We have your email IDs. And Agnes has shared the email ID in the chat, so you can check that also. I will also share the slide. I will open the slide here, but if anybody has, I don't think we can take more than one question right now. But
I want to finish off. I mean, if I have 30 seconds.
No. I think there may be some questions that the people want to ask, and Supriti should address them.
no
If
question. Let's take some questions. So, folks, I think you can put your questions in the chat, and we can see which one we can take right.
And while they're putting, may I just leave before we sign off, or before I sign off? May I just leave the audience with a bite size bite to nibble upon or chew upon? Because a lot of even you posed me those questions, and I did see those questions from the audience where they asked, "How do you do it?" or "How do we do it?" or "How do we plan it?" So I take my inspiration. Nikhil, you are the specialist here, but pardon me if I make a mistake here. But saying, but whatever little knowledge and information I have of design thinking, I have drawn while I plan for the school's planner. I have drawn my inspiration from design thinking, the 5-step process, where I tell all my in charges and my teachers that you find out what your children needs. You basically empathize with your children's needs, and then put down into two domains: one, what they need, and what are the issues that they struggle in reaching or completing those needs or those goals. And then as a team, in a vertical progression, sit down and ideate and challenge for innovative ideas, not just run of the mill that you've been doing. Think something that you've not done before, and however funny or weird those ideas may be, just put it down, then assess the viability of each idea and do what as a team collectively you feel that is doable and will help just about every child with all the issues that we have. And if that also doesn't work, go back to ideation again, go back to figuring out your needs and issue again. So I would request the audience to kind of go read about design thinking and see how you can bring it in your lesson plans, see how you can bring it in your annual progressions. Trust me, when you start thinking on those lines, you start getting ideas and you can actually do it.
there is one thing that I wanted to share to everybody before people go, and please listen. This is something that my own discovery, and I think when Supriti was talking about nature being inspiration and everything being there. So my daughter once told me, when she's also been working on it. I mean, there was time when she was very passionate about art. um, so there is one aspect of design which is called biophilic, okay, or art. Actually, it's art. So one form of art which imitates nature. And I
Yeah.
have seen some of Keta's, that's my daughter's paintings. They are so amazing. So I think nature is the smartest artist we are
Yes,
surrounded by. Okay,
I
the
agree.
the super smart artist. So if you need any inspiration for arts, I think we have.
Nature.
You don't have to go anywhere else. Just look around, step out of your house, look up, the sky, the birds, the trees, the moon, the stars, whatever. Okay, they are. Yeah. Okay, go ahead, Nikhil.
Great. Thank you, Vishnu. I think that's simply put. There is art everywhere. Nature is there, and I think so. Preeti, thank you for bringing design thinking very close to my heart, and I think that is what gets the answers. And anybody who uses that, and we empathize with children, and we step into their shoes, is when we get a lot of answers.
Yes.
So here is the announcement for our next webinar, everybody, which is making well-being a wakeful practice, which is on the 28th. We look forward to see you there also. Please know that we have 100 seats, so please register in advance. And here is the contact information for more questions that you may have. Please join the community on Facebook. Um, Thank you very much, Vishnu, Agnes, Sukriti, for enlightening us and bringing your wealth of information, and also showing us the evidence of how what other teachers have done. I want to thank everybody here and the teachers who shared their work. It was wonderful. I feel enriched today, and I can already see the comments. Everybody is looking very happy. So thank you very much, everybody. for being
Can I
here.
can I, can I get a chance, get one moment to express my gratitude to Supriti, especially an old friend, but someone who's been very very kind to me,
I have
and
learned a lot from you, Vishnu. So I think that's a
so I'm
mutual.
I'm just
Uh,
so happy that she's very busy, by the way. She's a very busy person, but she's kindly agreed to do this. And for everybody, those who are listening, if you're very keenly interested in taking this forward, we could request Supriti to do kind of follow up thing for a probably longer duration, something that you have our address, you could write and we could look at it.
Absolutely, Vishnu.
uh,
And if at all we would do an interactive webinar where everybody sits with things which we'll tell them beforehand, then they actually do it like an experiential learning webinar. Because
yeah,
I think just
absolutely.
talking, just chatting sometimes does not help. What helps is when you do it hands on. And that's
Yeah,
when you figure out that, oh, wow, it is doable.
yeah, I think we will call it exebinar,
Yes, yes.
experiential
Experiential
webinar.
learn. Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Yes.
So, so for the next exebinar, and yeah, and everybody, thank you, Nikhil, for being such a wonderful, wonderful
Thank you, Nikhil,
host. Yeah, all right. Sorry,
moderator.
moderator. And thank you, everybody. I look forward to seeing you in the next webinar.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everybody. Bye
Right,
bye.
stay in
Bye.
touch.
Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.